Hello everyone, welcome to the session on pharmaceutical inorganic chemistry. Here, topic of discussion is radioisotopes. So let us begin. What we are going to discuss here is isotopes, radioisotopes, types of radiation emitted, units of radioactivity, measurement of radioactivity, radiopharmaceuticals and radio contrast media. So all these topics we are going to discuss in this session. First of all, what is isotope? So isotopes are the compounds of the same element have the same number of protons in their atomic nuclei but differing number of neutrons, means they have same number of protons. That means same number of electrons. So number of electrons and number of protons remain same. Then where is the difference? Difference is in their number of neutrons. Now atomic mass. What is atomic mass? Atomic mass is number of protons plus number of neutrons. So here, due to difference in number of neutrons, they will have different atomic mass. So change in a number of neutrons. For example, here is the example. For hydrogen element, this H1, H2 and H3, these three isotopes are there. All are having the same atomic number. That means all have same number of protons or same number of electrons. But there is a difference in number of neutrons. For example, H1 has no neutron, only one proton. So atomic mass is 1. H2 has one proton and one neutron. So because of that, atomic mass is 2. While H3, tritium, that is atomic, it has number of protons 1 and number of neutrons 2. So that means isotopes differs in number of neutrons, not in a number of protons. Now isotopes can be stable and unstable. They may be stable, they may be unstable. Now how stability comes? So remember, any unstable isotope or any unstable molecule, they try to gain stability. Here, in case of stable isotopes, stability comes from amount of neutrons present in atom. So if an atom has too many or too few neutrons, then it is unstable. So that means proportion of proton and neutron must be equivalent. If it has too high number of neutrons as compared to proton, or if it has too less number of neutrons as compared to protons, then they becomes unstable and they tends to disintegrate. But stable isotopes, they have a proportion maintained and they do not decay and they do not produce any radiation. So stable isotopes do not produce any radiation. Next is radioisotopes or unstable isotopes. So radioisotopes are also known as radioactive isotopes, and here atoms that contain an unstable combination of neutrons and protons. So here proportion is not maintained. Number of neutrons may be too high, number of neutrons may be too low. So because of that, they emit radiation, they radiate, they disintegrate and they produce excess energy from the nucleus. So stability is gained by releasing energy or releasing radiation or emitting radiation. So these are the radioisotopes. For example, uranium. So uranium, only 0.7% of naturally occurring uranium is uranium-238, while The rest is less stable, means other than 0.7% is less stable and more radioactive. So that isotope is uranium-235. Uranium-235. Now what is difference between uranium-235 and uranium-238? That is just number of neutrons. So 235 has 3 less neutrons than 238, and hence it is unstable, and it is unstable. So because of that it is radioactive. Next, radioactive decay. So already I said that any unstable nucleus is there that will try to gain stability by shedding excess particle and energy in the form of radiation. So that process of shedding the radiation is known as radioactive decay. That process of shedding the radiation is known as radioactive decay. Now, that radioactive decay process is unique for each radioisotope. That is unique for each radioisotope. And how it is measured? It is measured with reference to time period, and that time period is known as half-life. That time period is known as half-life. So it is measured with respect to half-life. So that means different radioisotopes can be compared with reference to their half-life. Now, what is half-life? One half-life is the time it takes for half of the unstable atoms to undergo radioactive decay. So in other words, whatever total amount of that atoms are present, unstable nuclei is present. So to time required to make it half. That means half of that atoms decay or they produce radiation or radioactivity is shown by them. So concentration will become half. Whatever initial concentration of that substance or that atom is there or that nucleus is there, that will be converted into half, and the time period required for that is known as half-life. Next, example of radioactive series are uranium series, thorium series, actinium series. So these are the examples of radioactive series. Now let's take one basic and simple question. What are the radioisotopes? Or radioisotopes are stable isotopes, unstable isotopes, neutral isotopes, and none of the above. So now we know that radioisotopes are not stable, they are unstable isotopes. So correct answer is unstable isotopes. Next, now as we said that radiation is produced by radioactive substances or radioisotopes. So what kind of radiations are produced by that radioactive substances or radioisotopes are alpha radiation, beta radiation, X radiation or X-ray, or gamma radiation or neutron. So here in this diagram we can see the penetration ability of different types of radiation. Say for example, alpha cannot penetrate even paper, so it has less penetration. It can penetrate only very thin amount, not more than that. Beta is having a slightly higher penetration ability. It can penetrate through thin plates. It can be protected or it can be stopped with the help of thin plates made up of wood, aluminum, etc. While X-ray and gamma radiations are having an equivalent penetration power, and neutron is having a highest penetration power amongst all these, and it can be stopped with the help of water or concrete, etc. So if we compare all these, then alpha is having the least penetration power, while neutrons are having the highest penetration power. Now what is alpha radiation? What is alpha radiation? So when atom undergoes radioactive decay process, and it will release some amount of energy in the form of particle, and that particle is known as alpha particle. Now what is alpha particle? It consists of 2 protons and 2 neutrons, 2 proton and 2 neutrons, so that atomic mass is 4. So that nucleus is of helium, so it emits helium particle or helium atom, and that is known as alpha radiations, and they have less penetration power as they are unable to penetrate the outer layer of dead skin cells. So least penetration power is there with alpha radiation. Things to remember is alpha radiation is a helium nucleus. Next. So this is alpha radiation. 2 neutrons, 2 protons. So it's a helium nucleus. Next. Beta radiation. Now what is beta radiation? Beta radiation takes the form of either an electron or positron. Now beta radiation can be electron, that means negatively charged, or a positron. Now positron, what is positron? Positron is a particle with the size and mass of an electron, but with a positive charge. So it has a similar size, similar mass, but having a positive charge. So that is being emitted by the atom, and it can penetrate a skin a few centimeters. So it has having a slightly higher penetration power than the alpha radiation. So beta radiation can be positively charged or negatively charged. So negatively charged can also be known as negatrons, and positively charged is known as positrons. So this is beta particle. Next is gamma radiation. So gamma radiation does not contain any particle like alpha particle or beta particle, but it consists just a photon of energy from the unstable nucleus. So it's like a radiation in a form of photon or a wave form, and it has no mass, no charge, and it can travel further in air, and it can travel farther, more. It can travel more distance in air than the alpha or beta, and it loses half of its energy for every 500 feet distance traveled. So it loses energy as it travels. Then that can be stopped by thick or dense enough layer material, but it has a high penetration power than the alpha and beta. So it is like a photon or a waveform. So here we can compare that beta particle negatively charged are known as negatron, beta particle positively charged are known as positron, then alpha particle they are helium nucleus and gamma radiation. Next, X-rays. Now what are the X-rays? They are generally caused by energy changes in electron, such as moving from higher energy level to a lower one, or in other words, higher electronic shell to lower electronic shell. So when it changes its position from higher electronic shell to lower one, say for example L cell to K cell, then it loses the energy, excess energy, or it releases the energy in the form of X radiation or X-rays. So X-rays are longer wavelength and usually having a lower energy than the gamma radiation. Longer wavelength and lower energy. So that is X-ray. Now neutron. Neutron itself can be irradiated. So emission of neutron is also possible, and neutrons are having a highest penetration power. Neutrons are having the highest penetration power. Next, so they are able to travel hundreds or thousands of meters in air. Now how can be neutron stopped? Neutron can be stopped or blocked by a hydrogen rich material. Now hydrogen rich material such as concrete or water, they are not typically able to ionize an atom directly. So neutrons do not ionize any atom directly. Then what they can do? The only type of radiation that is able to turn other materials radioactive. So they convert other materials into radioactive materials. So directly they are not ionizing atom, but they are helping other materials to become radioactive or to emit radiation. Now question. So which of the following radiations consist of a helium nucleus? Alpha, beta, gamma, or all of the above? So very first we said that alpha particles or alpha radiation is made up of helium. So correct answer is alpha. Now positrons and negatrons are type of which radiation? Positrons and negatrons are type of which radiation? Alpha, beta, gamma, and all of the above. So already we said that beta particles can be positron or negatrons. Electrons means negatrons and positively charged means positrons. So correct answer is beta radiation. So positrons and negatrons are beta radiation. Now next point is units of radioactivity. So these are the common units for radioactivity. Which units are there? Curie, Becquerel, Roentgen, RAD. RAD means radiation absorbed dose. Then RBE means relative biological effectiveness, and Rutherford. So these are the units of radioactivity. We are going to discuss Curie and Becquerel. Other units are also there. Now what is Curie? So Curie is the symbol given is Ci, and how it is defined? It is defined as the quantity or mass of radium emanation in equilibrium with 1 gram of radium. So in other words, in a simple word, quantity of radiation emitted by 1 gram of radium. Quantity of radiation emitted by 1 gram of radiation. So how much quantity is radiated is 3.7 into 10 raised to 10 decays per second. 3.7 into 10 raised to 10 decays per second, or that is also known as DPS, decays per second, DP and S, and that amount is 3.7 into 10 raised to 10. So 1 Ci is equal to 3.7 into 10 raised to 10. This 10 raised to 10 is also known as giga. So it is 3.7 into 10 raised to 10 GBQ or giga Becquerel. Now Becquerel is defined as 1 nuclear decay per second. So another unit. So earlier unit was Curie, and then which unit came is Becquerel. Now what is Becquerel? Becquerel is 1 nuclear decay per second. So 1 nuclear decay per second or 1 DPS is Becquerel. So 1 Curie is 3.7 into 10 raised to 10 Becquerel. So these are the common units, Curie and Becquerel. Now next interesting topic is detection method. So how this radiation when a radioactive substance emits alpha, beta, gamma, X-ray, neutrons, etc., then how it can be detected? So it can be detected by all these methods: ionization chamber, photographic plate method, Geiger-Müller tube counter, proportional counter, scintillation detector, solid state semiconductor detector, and semiconductor detector. Ionization chamber, photographic plate method, Geiger-Müller, proportional, scintillation, semiconductor, and solid state semiconductor detector. So we are going to discuss few of them. So this is photographic plate method. Here example of radiation is X radiation. So when X radiation is passing through the sample, here this is the example just to detect radiation, but it is passing through the object, and then here there is a photographic plate. So whatever X radiation that is falling on the plate, it causes darkening of the photographic plate. So that darkening can be detected. That darkening is detected. So this is photographic plate method. Another method is Geiger-Müller tube counter. This is also known as GM counter or Geiger-Müller tube counter. Here what is done in this cylindrical, in this cylinder, argon gas is filled. Argon is an inert gas. So argon gas is filled. Then argon gas, because of radiation, this argon gas is ionized. Argon gas is ionized into argon plus and electron. So Ar plus and electron, that ionization occur, and then that ions further ionizes other molecules of argon gas, and ultimately because of that ionization current is produced. Because of that the current is produced, and then that current is proportional to the amount of radiation falling on this counter through this thin mica window. So that is Geiger-Müller tube counter. Argon gas is filled, then it is ionized, further ionization occurs, and then it is detected. Proportional counter is similar to the Geiger-Müller counter. Only difference is here, instead of argon gas, heavier gas like xenon and krypton are filled. Xenon and krypton are filled in a proportional counter. Why that heavier gas is preferred? Because if the gas is heavier, it can be easily ionized. So Geiger-Müller and proportional counters are similar. Only difference is here xenon and krypton gas are filled. Next is scintillation detector. Here what is the case? Here this floor crystal of sodium iodide with thallium crystal of sodium iodide is placed here. When the radiation falls on them, the scintillation event occurs. Now what this event does? Because of this event, visible radiation is generated. Radiation which is produced by radioactive substance that falls on the crystal of sodium iodide, and then scintillation event occur. And because of this scintillation event, visible radiation is produced, and that visible radiation is detected with the help of PMT, that is photomultiplier tube. Then semiconductor detectors. Here in semiconductor detectors, whether it's a solid state, what occurs is electrons produced by radiation beam are promoted into conduction bands. So these semiconductors have conducting band and non-conducting band. So in a normal conditions, they are non-conducting. But when radiation falls on them, that electrons are shifted to the conduction bands, and that conduction band, as they are shifted into conduction bands, current flows. So how much amount of current is flowing is directly proportional to the amount of radiation falling on the surface of this semiconductor detector. I repeat, radiation falls on the surface of this semiconductor detector. When radiation falls on them, that electrons are shifted from non-conducting to the conducting band or conduction band, and as they are shifted to conduction band, current flows, and the flowing current is directly proportional to the amount of radiation. Now some questions. So which detection method uses argon gas? Which detection method uses argon gas? Geiger-Müller counter, proportional counter, scintillation counter, and semiconductor detector. So we have already said that Geiger-Müller counter uses argon gas, which will be ionized. So correct answer is Geiger-Müller counter. In proportional counter, xenon and krypton gas are used. In scintillation counter, these gases are not used. Crystal of sodium iodide is used. Semiconductor detector are themselves detectors. Now, radiopharmaceuticals. So here some of the elements or some of the radioisotopes which are used in pharmaceuticals or which are used as radiopharmaceuticals. Here two purposes are there. One is they can be used in diagnosis, and second part is they can be used in a treatment or therapeutics. So diagnosis is there and therapeutics or treatment is there. So which radiopharmaceuticals are used? There are many, but what we are going to discuss is iodine 125 as per your syllabus. Iodine 125, phosphorus 32, chromium 51, cobalt 60, iron 59, technetium 99M. So this all we are going to discuss in brief. So iodine 125. So there are other isotopes of iodine, but this iodine 125 is second longest life, having the second longest life from all the isotopes of iodine after 129. So iodine 129 is also one isotope, and after that this is longest lived radioisotope. And how it is produced? It is produced by electron capture decay of xenon 125. So from xenon 125, this iodine 125 is generated. How much half-life it is there? It is very short and 13 hours. It has 13-hour half-life. It can be used for tagging antibodies in radioimmunoassay. So in radioimmunoassay, it can be used for tagging antibodies. It can be used in scanning and imaging of thyroid. It is also useful for GFR testing. GFR means glomerular filtration rate. So this is helpful in diagnosis of kidney disease. So in diagnosis of kidney disease, to test GFR, this iodine 125 can be used. Another one is it can be used therapeutically, means in a treatment in brachytherapy treatments of tumors, means in a cancer including prostate cancer and brain tumor. In prostate cancer and brain tumor. So iodine 125. Now next is phosphorus 32, means P32. So this isotope contains 15 protons and 17 neutrons, means 2 more neutrons as compared to protons. So that is why it is unstable. So common isotope is phosphorus 31 and this radioisotope is phosphorus 32. But this exists only in a small quantities. So that means abundance is very small and half-life is 14.268 days. Half-life is 14.268 days. So that is phosphorus 32. And now where it can be used? It can be used in diagnosis and treatment of neoplastic diseases. Diagnosis and treatment of neoplastic diseases. Localization of intraocular tumors, means in a cancer. Intraocular tumors and cerebral tumors. Intraocular tumors and cerebral tumors, as well as in a treatment of polycythemia vera. Polycythemia vera means it is related to blood cancer. So in a treatment of blood cancer, chronic granulocytic or myelocytic leukemia. So in simple word, in a treatment of blood cancer, phosphorus 32 can be used. Now chromium 51. Chromium 51. So chromium 51 is a synthetic radioactive isotope of chromium. That means it's not naturally occurring radioisotope. It has half-life of 27.7 days. 27.7 days. And what radiation it emits? It emits gamma radiation. It emits gamma radiation. Where it can be used? It can be used to label RBC, red blood cells, for measurement of mass or volume, survival time, and sequestration studies for the diagnosis of GIT, gastrointestinal bleeding, and to label platelets to study their survival. So that means studies related to RBC, then diagnosis of GIT bleeding, this can be used. It can also be used as radioactive label. So it is used as a radioactive labeling of RBC. Then cobalt 60. Again, this is not naturally occurring isotope. It's a synthetic radioactive isotope of cobalt. Half-life is high, 5.2713 years. So half-life is very high, 5.2713 years. It is produced in nuclear reactor and it emits gamma radiation. It is gamma radiation. High intensity gamma radiation is emitted. Where it can be used? It is used, cobalt is used in sterilization of medical equipment. So all medical equipments can be sterilized with the help of this radiation source. So it can be used as a radiation source in medical radiotherapy to treat cancer. So to treat cancer and to sterilize medical equipment. So that are the uses. Now iron 59, Fe59. This is, it can emit gamma and beta. Half-life is 45.51 days. 44.51 days. It is used as a radio label or as a tracer in the study of iron metabolism. In an iron metabolism, since iron is also part of the blood, part of the hemoglobin, so in determination of blood volume and blood transfusion studies, iron 59 can be used in a determination of blood volume and in a blood transfusion studies. It has half-life of 44.51 days. Then technetium 99M. Technetium 99M. Here this M indicates metastable. M stands for metastable. So it's a metastable nuclear isomer of technetium 99. Technetium 99 and symbolized as 99MTC. So M stands for metastable and it is widely used in medical diagnostic procedures. Widely used in medical diagnostic procedures. It emits gamma radiation and half-life is less. It's only 6 hours. Half-life is only 6 hours. So because it has a very less half-life, it can be used in scanning procedures which collect data rapidly but keep total patient radiation exposure low. Since it exposes only for 6 hours, half-life is only 6 hours, so it can be used for scanning this kind of procedures. But because it has less half-life, it is not suitable for therapeutic use. So it has advantage as well as disadvantage. Advantage is in a diagnostic purpose and disadvantage is in a therapeutic purpose. Then where it can be used? It can be used, 99MTC can be used for imaging and functional studies of brain, myocardium, thyroid, lungs, liver, gallbladder, kidneys, skeleton, blood and tumor. So it has wide application. 99MTC has wide applications. In labeling of WBC also it can be used, and this labeling in WBC is used to visualize sites of infection. So where is the infection that can be found? So these are the uses of 99MTC. Now let's have question. So which of the following isotope has the longest half-life? Which of the isotope has the longest half-life? I-125, P32, Cr51 and Cobalt-60. So out of this one isomer was there which has half-life in years, and that was 5.2 years. So correct answer is Cobalt-60. Next question. Which of the following isotope has the shortest half-life? Shortest half-life from I-125, P32, chromium-51 and cobalt-60. So I-125 has the half-life of only 13 hours. So correct answer is I-125. Next question. Okay. Next is radio contrast media. Radio contrast media. Now, what is the use of this contrast media and what is this radio contrast media? So, this contrast media are used to provide more adequate contrast for good visualization and differences of anatomical detail. So it is clear that contrast media is used for good visualization of anatomical details. So these agents are used mostly in diagnostic purposes or imaging purposes like X-ray. And these are the advantages to radiographer to provide more clearly image that can be easily analyzed. So that are the radio contrast media. Now how they work? So when taking images like in CT, computed tomography, MRI, then digital subtraction angiography, that is DSA. So in all these procedures, it is necessary to increase or decrease density of interested organ to provide desired contrast. So that organ which is being analyzed it should have some different density or contrast. So to increase or decrease this contrast media are used. So these contrast media are of two types. One is known as positive contrast media or positive contrast agents. Another one is known as negative contrast agents or negative contrast medium. So positive contrast agents are also known as radio opaque. They are known as radio opaque agents. And examples are iodine compounds, bromine compounds and barium compounds. Iodine compounds, bromine compound and barium compounds are examples of positive contrast agents or radio opaque. Opaque, they absorb, they do not allow to pass it. So they absorb. While negative contrast agents are radiolucent, so they allow to pass it. So air, oxygen, carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide, these all are negative contrast medium. Negative contrast agents are also used in a combination or conjunction with positive contrast agents. What we are going to discuss is positive contrast agents. So positive contrast agents produce an area with decreased radiographic density on the image receptor. So in X-ray, what happens is the organ being analyzed is there, X radiation will pass through it, and on a plate or on an image receptor, image will be received. So what these positive contrast agents do, they decrease radiographic density on image receptor. So ultimately what happens is image appears clear or white on a radiograph. So other portion of that image receptor or a photographic plate will be darker and the organ will appear lighter. So contrast will be there, and as they absorb X radiation, they are radio opaque. They are radio opaque and positive contrast. How these radio opaque agents can be used? They can be used in the form of liquids, tablets and powders. They also can be inserted to body through variety of routes, and they are mostly relatively non-toxic. Mostly they are non-toxic. In certain cases toxicity can be there, but mostly they are non-toxic. Now example which we are going to discuss is barium sulfate. Barium sulfate as radio opaque contrast media. So barium sulfate is BaSO4, and again that is ionic salt of barium, a metallic chemical element. Barium is a metallic and it has the atomic number 56. What is the solubility? Barium sulfate is insoluble in water. So as it is insoluble in water, little of the toxic barium metal is absorbed into the body. So only little amount is absorbed into body. Where this can be used? This barium sulfate can be used to help or diagnosis of certain disorders of esophagus, stomach or intestine. So mostly in disorders of GI tract, this barium sulfate can be used. It can be given with by mouth or by rectally or with the help of enema. So by mouth or rectally this barium sulfate can be given. Now questions. Which of the following is positive contrast media? Which of the following is positive contrast media? Iodine, bromine, barium or all of the above. So we said that iodine compounds, bromine compounds and barium compounds are positive contrast media. So correct answer is all of the above. Correct answer is all of the above. Now, so this was about radioisotopes. So what we discussed is what are the radioisotopes, what are the units of radioactivity, and how this radioactivity is detected or how measurement can be there, what are the different radiopharmaceuticals, and what is radio opaque contrast media, and what is the example, that is barium sulfate. So all these things we have discussed. So if you have any doubts, you can contact. Thank you.